So for large organizations, there's a particular problem at play. And actually, it's not a technology problem, it's a human problem. What you have is you have multiple different people, different perspectives, different outlooks, multiple different teams, all needing to collaborate around documents. And then these large organizations interact with external parties. They've got a supply chain typically in a manufacturing context. So if you think about a very large organization like a Boeing, they might have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of suppliers. So the impact of missing certain requirements or misinterpreting certain requirements is twofold. One, there is a incremental efficiency decrease in an organization. So to crystallize that, if I'm reviewing a very important contract or a license agreement, a master software license agreement or a legal T's and C's, or I'm doing a due diligence effort for an acquisition, a lot of different eyes, a lot of different teams need to look and review this document. And the efficiency issues, or put it the reverse of that, the inefficiency in that process is quite large. The document is the lowest common denominator. It needs to go to multiple people. They need to review it, and that takes time. And I might review a certain part, with a certain lens. Let's say I'm a compliance person. I might review it with a compliance perspective. You might review it with a technical perspective. Somebody else might review it from a commercial aspect. Legal, the list goes on. These are various teams with various perspectives. So the challenge is an efficiency challenge. A lot of times what you find is the state of the art is a bunch of emails flying around with a bunch of attachments and people having to review, but I won't get to it till next week to review. So there's a kind of a time lag as well. Now layer in the external parties involved in this and you compound the issue. It just compounds and multiplies. Now layer in the likely misinterpretation from all parties because different people have different perspectives. And now you see the risk around potential lack of understanding of the full extent of what the system or what the program or what the major infrastructure project is. And that typically, what is the impact in that level? It is downstream. It is cost overruns. It's scope change. In other words, you thought you were building something and then you build something else. And what was estimated as 1.7 billion suddenly becomes 3.2 billion. Most solutions that try to address this challenge tend to quite reasonably assume that workflow or that some kind of control on the process will help the overall outcome. It'll make it inefficient. So you route a document from person A to person B in a different department. They sign off on it. All is good. It's a managerial mindset. The problem with that approach is that does not take into account human reality and team dynamics. Team A cannot assume that Team B are either willing to or able to use their solution for workflow. And Team B, in fact, might be an external team. And Team B may not be able to get to it to review until next week or the week after. So co-authoring and collaboration solutions of this nature often break down very quickly. So how does VisibleThread help this? Our solution automates specific current steps in the process. These steps already are happening. Let's say the first step. What is the first step of any review cycle? I open up a document. Let's say I'm a compliance person and I look at it from a compliance standpoint. What does compliance mean? Typically, I'm looking for things like indemnification clauses, conflict of interest clauses, and I'm making sure that we won't run afoul of those issues. I read the document, typically on page 1, and I finish on page 32 or 92, or I read 5 documents, again, start to end. So we help that process become 10x more efficient by focusing on certain parts of the document fast. Today, what people are doing is they're using Control F. That is the shortcut in Windows or the Mac equivalent for search. I search for indemnification. I search for conflict of interest. VisibleThread takes that, codifies or puts those search terms into a list. We call that a search dictionary. And you can point that at one or more documents instantly to get an immediate set of hits within the actual set of documents you're looking for. That drives massive efficiency benefits. And then we will help you extract that content into manageable forms, things like Excel spreadsheets, to manage the process of the review. And that Excel spreadsheet might have multiple columns. Each column might reflect a different perspective. So it just augments today's working process. It doesn't presume to apply a fundamentalist approach on this. It doesn't presume to insist on a given workflow. It assumes that every company has their own way of doing things, and every partner, either internal, i.e. different teams, or external, different third-party suppliers, are using their own way of doing things. Again, lowest common denominator is the doc, and we accept that, and we point at those docs, and we expose potential risk very fast.